I believe that there's a direct relationship between lust and the use of contraception. I can tell you that I viewed and looked at Joanne entirely different, okay, than I do now, okay. I will skip the details, okay, but the fact is that that it caused me to objectify her, okay, and basically look at her as more as for my own personal satisfaction, okay, my own personal desires and wants. When I became familiar with and started reading about and comprehending natural family planning, you know, it was like, boy, you know. And now I look at her differently, even though we've passed that point in our life. We approach our entire sexuality entirely different as the way God had originally wanted us to do it. So, and she's entirely, and I see her very differently now than I did before.
There used to be a loneliness and almost a feeling of almost being used, you know, before. All the responsibility of the fertility was mine. I was kind of on my own. And I see, you know, when we make love now, we make love. We don't just have sex. And we treat it with such dignity and respect. And it's so important now. And
put it this way, okay? We wish, okay, and if God so wishes to do this, okay, that we could have children, okay.
I would have one today if I could.
we would welcome it, and we would welcome it beyond anybody's imagination.
For the first 5-6 years of our marriage, well, I can say from the beginning, we were married pregnant. We had not followed the church's teachings. I was completely out of the church at that time. And that was followed soon after by 2 more pregnancies, despite our contraceptive efforts. And we turned to natural family planning not because of any teaching from any spiritual authority. We weren't following any spiritual authority. But because we were trying to find a way to prevent all these unplanned pregnancies so that we could, you know, I guess really kind of pursue our own sort of goals in life and our own plan. And when we encountered the solid method, you know, the science of it was quite impressive, we began to practice it because it seemed like it might work. And we were not prepared for the effect that it would have on us spiritually. And I didn't really think in spiritual terms at all at that time. But having to, you know, basically having to sacrifice for my wife, having to deny myself for my wife became a tremendous eye-opener to me about the value of suffering and, you know, what it really means to love somebody, to be willing to set aside your own desires and your own plan and your own, you know, supposed urges and needs for the good of, not only of her, but also of our marriage and of our family.
For me, natural family planning gave me a lot of things. It taught me to respect my fertility instead of thinking of it as a kind of a burden on me and on our marriage, because we had 3 unplanned pregnancies and our first 3 children were unplanned, and using contraception. So I really felt like my body was failing me. And once we learned about NFP, I began to see fertility as not a bad thing, but this was a good thing. This was a gift from God. And, you know, even though I loved my children, I don't think that I saw them as gifts as much as when we started using natural family planning. And it really helped our relationship so much to have periods of abstinence where, you know, my husband was willing to sacrifice for me for for the good of our marriage and for the good of our family. And that really showed me, you know, his love for me, that he was able to do that. Whereas with contraception, there's no opportunity to do that. And so that I think it's the one thing that has really helped us tremendously in our marriage is using natural family planning. And that's just one thing that I would say to every married couple, you know, this is just, you should definitely do this, and it will help you communicate better, especially about the really important things, because when you're using NFP, you have to be communicating a lot, because, and you have to always be thinking a lot too, because, you know, you have to think, you know, could we have another baby at this time, or should we try to postpone, or, you know, what is God trying to tell us, you know, and you have to have these deep discussions all the time about the state of your family and your relationship and your mental state. You know, for a woman, sometimes she needs a little breather, and so her husband needs to, you know, to be sensitive to that.